Chapter 8, somewhat short and concerns symbols and imagery. We're primarily concerned with symbols in this lecture. And with images, all those are words and phrases that help create a visual in a person's mind. Now, where we're primarily concerned with images in literature when we're doing analysis is when they become motifs. So these are images that are deliberately repeated. So as you're going to do this week in the discussion forum, we'll talk about the twos in hills like white elephants. The two or the pairs tend to be a motif throughout that short story. And it's one of the things I want you to look for in the discussion forum or to talk about in the discussion forum is what these two, where they are and why they're there. And so that's when we're mostly concerned with images, when they reoccur or they're recurring and they therefore take on greater meaning than the image would by itself. Now, for the primary part of this lecture, we're more concerned with symbols because symbols tend to be an issue for people when they're first beginning to look at literature seriously and really trying to do an analysis because sometimes they're kind of hard to see or you're not sure if you're actually seeing one if it is. So what a symbol simply is something that's representing other than its literal meaning. And so these are normally objects or persons or places. And these symbols then allow us a much deeper reading of a narrative. And sometimes the symbols are unintentional. The subconscious of the writer has put the symbol there, or like with Joyce, who was a huge fan of using symbols, they're consciously placed there for specific reasons. Now, there's two different types of symbols. There's what's known as universal or archetypal. Archetypal means when something's an archetype, it is a representation across cultures. That's why we say it's universal. So the ocean most of the time is meant to represent a lot of times the unknown or what lies beyond death. A river tends to be representative of life itself, and then mother tends to be representative of earth or nature or of the world. Now, more conventional is the other type, a conventional such as a rose, a flag, or a cigar. These tend to be dependent on culture for interpretation. And so, unlike the universal or archetypal symbol, they may not translate across cultures, such as a cow in India is a holy being. Nothing is to be done to those cows. And so within Indian literature, a cow could represent the spiritual, where in the United States, where we herd them, we slaughter them, we eat them, not really a good symbol for the spiritual. And so you just need to be aware of that these go. Or it can be specific to the story. I mentioned in the last lecture about the florin in Araby. It's a coin that wasn't in much use, but was available in Ireland at the time that Araby takes place. But it uses its uniqueness as a symbol within the story, and specifically to that story. It wouldn't translate as a symbol into other stories. Now, there are also sexual symbols, so primarily you just need to know these names. So these definitions, you need to know that the phallic symbol, which is many times penis-shaped, uh, is representative of male potency, and more than likely for our concerns, it would be for patriarchal power of the male within a society. So we've lived primarily in a patriarchal society where power is held by men, and we're starting now to finally move away from that to where women also hold a power within the society itself. It's not that women didn't hold any power prior to this, but in our institutions, our legal institutions, our government institutions, etc., in our corporations. It was all patriarchal up until recently. Now, the yonic, this is female fecundity or potency again, and it can also be the allure of the female sexuality. Things such as caves and pots, the hills. The hills could be a yonic symbol in the hills like white elephants. And so these are objects that are either shaped like breasts or like pregnant women's bellies. So just be aware of those two terms, the phallic and the yonic. You will see them on some exams. All right, now recognizing symbols, what we're looking for, does something reappear? Or is it in a conspicuous location? Or like the florin, is it an unusual object that really doesn't seem to fit? Or it seems to be unnatural within in the setting? So those you look for. Is it reappearing? If something keeps showing up again and again, you should start paying attention to it. Like why? Why does this thing keep showing up? If it's somewhere very conspicuous, like if a doorway is an important part of a story and it's sitting at the entrance of the door, or alongside the door, that's a conspicuous location. Does it show up in the title or the opening or closing paragraph? Do those mention the symbol? So hills like white elephants, well, why are the hills? That's a very strange title for a story, and there are hills in the story, but why? Why name the entire story Hills Like White Elephants? And there you've got something else with that, because you have to consider what's a white elephant, right? A white elephant's got particular symbolism of its own, especially in India. Now, is it a strange entity within the story? So again, that's what we're talking about with the florin. It seems like, threepence or sixpence would have been making more sense to give somebody for your relationship with money. It would be like if you asked, and you're writing a story, and the young boy asks his dad for money to go get some candy at the store, to get a pack of gum, right? And instead of giving the character a quarter, he gives him a $2 bill. Well, that's kind of strange to get a $2 bill to go buy a pack of gum. So that's what I'm saying. It's a strange entity within the story, such as the florin. And then, is it associated with another obvious symbol? Is there a blatant obvious symbol? Like if you were to see an American flag in a story, that's an obvious symbol of patriotism. It's an obvious symbol of nationality. Is something associated with that then? So you look for that as well. Now, keeping all in mind, sometimes, as Freud said, a cigar is just a cigar. It doesn't represent anything phallic, though a lot of times it does. And this is the hard part with the symbols, is you have to determine yourself whether they're actually a symbol or it's actually a symbol or not. Okay? And that's it on symbol and imagery.